All right, Mix 1041 and MixTV.tv. We are joined by our friends Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners. So great to have you on the studio.
Hey, Bridget. Glad to be here.
Good to be here.
So, of course, as everyone knows, it's an election year.
Oh,
so
yes.
talk to us about that. What does that mean in the financial planning world?
Well, if you've turned on the news at any time, at any point, you're going to hear something about the election this year, right? An election year causes a lot of emotions. It causes a lot of fear and anxiety in a lot of folks. And hey, if my guy or my girl doesn't get in, I'm in trouble, right? Like in both sides, no matter how polarized it is, feel that way. The markets are going to crash if this guy gets elected. The markets are going to crash if that guy gets elected, right?
Well, and
it causes a lot of fear.
There's actually a name for this: election stress disorder. It's an actual thing. Psychologists have been studying and have determined that there is a pattern in election years where stress and anxiety rises. And so obviously that has an impact on our financial lives. First of all, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all of that, but also on our financial lives because it does impact the markets and our economy, right?
That's
so
right.
it's a real thing that folks are experiencing. So that's why we want to hit it head on today.
And so here's what we want to tell people in this election cycle, in this year, when it comes to your investments, when it comes to your financial plan, do not let fear and emotions control how you are reacting in your reactions. Have a plan to respond, not just a reaction because of an emotion, right? And so two of the biggest fears we see, if the market's going up, you have a FOMO fear, a fear of missing out. Like, I got to get in and I'm going to buy everything, right? The same thing happens when we have downside. There's a fear of losing everything. And so you're saying, I got to sell everything and get out of everything right now. You cannot just have these knee-jerk reactions. You have to make sure that you are being controlled and led by a plan, which is what we do as fiduciary advisors. We help people put together comprehensive plans so that you can change and not exchange some of that fear with peace, exchange some of that uncertainty with certainty, and some of that doubt with the known, right? So we want to make sure that you're not led by those emotions. That's the biggest thing we want to talk about today.
Right. And another mistake we see folks make in times like this, election year, where there's a war with COVID, something big happens that impacts our society or economy, is trying to time the market. Don't try to time the market and think, there's something going on, I'm going to jump out and I'm going to jump back in. Because you will miss some of the biggest days in the market if you do that.
That is
because
true.
some of the biggest days in the market happen during a down market or a bear market because there are recovery days. We actually did a study that showed out of a 30-year period that if you miss the top 10 best market days out of a 30-year period,
30 years,
that you would minimize your portfolio value by 54%. So you would miss over half the gain that you could have had just because of 10 days out of 30 years. That's massive. And so we don't want people to be timing that, trying to figure out, I should pull out here and let's reinvest here. No, if you're doing that, you're not positioned correctly when you're looking at your portfolio. And that's what this whole conversation is about, being positioned properly no matter what's going on in our economy, in our, society, in our culture, whatever's happening to impact the markets doesn't have this massive impact on you and your financial future.
We want the listeners to hear that this morning. We want you to hear if you're feeling that fear, if you're feeling uncertainty, if this market volatility's got you in a mess because of where we're at in this election cycle. Let us help you. We have a team of fiduciary advisors just waiting to meet with people like you and your family to help you through this situation. This is what we do every day to make sure you are positioned properly so you don't have to make these knee-jerk reactions, but you can respond appropriately, not just react out of emotion.
Well, and there's 3 things you can do. We'll kind of wrap this up briefly. Things you can do. You can't control everything, right? We can't control what the market does, but you can control how you're positioned. Ensure you're positioned properly. Number 2, you're going to have some risk with anything. No matter what it is, you can't avoid all risk, but you get to choose the amount of risk and the type of risk that you want to take. And then finally, planning for the unexpected, things that you don't expect, like COVID, like what's going to happen maybe after the election. No matter who is elected, there may be something occur. We don't know, something unexpected will eventually happen in our lives. And if we're best prepared financially for those things, we can better face them. So those are 3 really practical things that you can do now to not be caught up in the swirl and the chaos
Right.
and the anxiety of election year. It's chaos and all that's occurring, and allowing that to impact you. You don't have to allow that to impact you in such drastic ways. There's a better way.
We're talking with Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners, 423-315-1441, and online at allonplanning.com. And, people can really rely on your experience and things that you've seen over the years, and you guys walk them through step by step.
That's right. We love to sit down with folks and walk them through this process. What is a comprehensive financial plan? What is proper positioning for me in my phase of life, for my specific goals, with my income and expenses, and really piecing that together so that you can experience financial success.
Yeah, and comprehensive, holistic planning around your finances can become that anchor in the storm of volatility or the fear that you may be feeling, or the uncertainty of this election cycle, right? That planning can put you on stable ground so that you don't have to ride all of that uncertainty and doubt. And that's what we want to help folks with, knowing that we are independent and fiduciary, meaning that we only work for our clients and we have their best interest in our mind. So make sure that you're working, if you are already working with a financial advisor, you want to make sure that they are fiduciary only. How are they licensed? How are they giving you advice? And if you don't know that, you should ask. And secondly, we want to invite you, meet with one of our fiduciary advisors on our team, because we want to make sure that you have a plan to have certainty in the uncertainty.
All right. Well, as we wrap up here, remind us of your contact information, how people can reach out.
You can reach out directly, of course, by phone or our website. It's 423-315-1441, or through our website, allonplanning.com. Again, that's Allon Planning, ALLON, planning.com. You can see on our Contact Us page, you can schedule an appointment directly from our calendar. You can see events and workshops that we have coming up offering educational opportunities. You could tune in live or on demand to our podcast or our weekly educational TV show. Again, all these resources we've created to help empower you to be able to make these financial decisions.
So many great resources. That's Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners. Thanks so much for coming in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thanks.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.